Hey friends, I'm John Schott from the People's Drug, King's Ransom, and The Handover.
And I'm Victoria Bergeson from The Hour and the Modern Home Bar. Welcome to our second episode of Old Town Cocktail Virtual Happy Hour, sponsored by Old Town Business.
So for our second edition, we're here at Virtue Feed and Grain, where we're going to try their Maker's Mark Chocolate Manhattan. Then we're going to head across to our street to our friends at the Old Town Shop, and we're going to talk with our friends from Maker's Mark as well. Let's get started. You want to hit it?
Sounds great.
Let's do it.
Go.
Hi, my name is Dougie. I'm the head bartender here at Virtue Feed and Grain, and today we're going to be making our dark chocolate Manhattan. So instead of typical fortified wines, typically sweet vermouth, we're going to be tagging in Averna Amaro. It is still the classic Manhattan recipe, so we are going to be running with a 2-1-2, 2 ounces, 1 ounce, and then 2 dashes. So we already have our coupe glass chilling for us. That way it'll be nice and cold when we're all done this. Let's go ahead and get started. So first, 2 ounces of Maker's Mark whiskey. Boom. I'm going to put that right into our mixing glass. Follow that up with our Amaro. And that's going to be that 1 ounce that we were talking about before. Right on in as well. Getting every last drop. And then last but not least, our barrel-aged chocolate bitters. 2 nice dashes of that. After that, we're going to grab a little bit of ice, put that right into the mixing glass. We're gonna grab our bar spoon, give that a nice controlled spin for a couple of rotations, usually about 30, 35. Opens up the drink a little bit, chills it. It doesn't actually break down the ice into it, starts messing with the flavor. You get a nice clean cocktail at the end. After that, we're gonna grab our strainer, grab our mixing glass, dump our ice first, because this is served up, not on the rocks. We're gonna get with a nice controlled pour. Doesn't that look pretty? Whew. All right, garnish with the Bordeaux cherry. Delicious, and enjoy.
All right, friends, we're sitting here in the Clipper Room at Virtue Feed and Grain, and I'm sitting down with Dougie, the head barkeep here, who has just made us these delicious Maker's Mark Chocolate Manhattans. It smells amazing right here. Now, before we get a little bit into the drink, I know you told us a little bit about it when you're up there making it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you worked here at Virtue?
So my name is Doug, as we went over before. I am the head bartender here at Virtue Feed and Grain. I have worked here for 4 years and about 27 days, actually. It's November.
You really got to count on that.
Oh, God. Right at Thanksgiving. Nice and easy, every single time. I'm originally from Carroll County, Maryland, which is just a giant cornfield with a Walmart somewhere.
Sure.
Moved down here 6 years ago, and it's just too beautiful to leave, so
Yeah.
I guess I'm a Virginian now.
Well, it makes sense. You left a cornfield and we're making bourbon cocktails now. It makes a lot of sense to me. Now, how did you get into bartending? Because I didn't get.
Well, actually,
Someone didn't show up for a shift, you had to work, right?
yeah, pretty much. I was a busboy at a Red Lobster, and
Nice.
somebody just didn't show up, and bartending there was literally hitting blend on a blender.
Yep.
At which point they said you should probably learn what vodka and rum and gin and all
Yeah.
that is, and then shoot.
Dougie, I don't mean to pry, but
Go for it.
so you stayed a bartender
Yes.
after the shift where you got put on. What was special about that experience or that shift that made you want to really stick with bartending and being a barkeep?
So I
Certainly,
was actually
that
a
is
very
theme here, the
quiet
experience,
person, didn't really talk, kind of blended into the scenery, and after one shift of basically being thrust on stage in front of
Yeah.
people and not being able to run away, it actually turned out to be a lot of fun getting to talk to people, have conversations, show off and just act out.
Nice.
Next thing
Yeah,
you know.
nice. Now let's talk about some whiskey right now. Let's talk about Maker's Mark Bourbon, which is, for me, classic American big bourbon. Iconic bottle, and always call it off the shelf. Not always the easiest thing to make a good bourbon cocktail too that's not too sweet. Tell us what you did here with your dark chocolate Manhattan.
Of course. So what we did was we started with a Black Manhattan recipe.
Real quick, what's a Black Manhattan if people don't know?
So Black Manhattan is made with Averna instead of fortified wine, which is typically a sweet vermouth.
Right.
Dials back the sweetness, adds a little bit of bitterness to balance out that sweetness that you do get with Makers. And then once we have all that together, we actually add our barrel-aged chocolate bitters.
Nice.
Ties everything together. That's the point of bitters in the first place.
Yeah, of course.
Really just brings that cocktail from a 9 to a 10.
Yeah, it smells like a 10 right now. I'm getting all the aroma off it right now, plus this nice plate of food as well. But I also noticed that you really kept with just the same. People don't know how to make a Manhattan at home, right?
True.
It is the same formula. We just traded one or two things out,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm making a Manhattan at home with Maker's Mark, how would I do that as well?
So if you're making a Maker's Mark Manhattan, the classic recipe is a 2 ounce of bourbon, 1 ounce of the fortified wine, what have you. And
Typically
then,
your sweet vermouth.
yeah, and then 2 dashes of bitters.
Sure.
Pour all that into your mixing tin, give it a nice slow stir on that, and then strain it out. You don't want ice chips, you don't want it to be cloudy, you just want a nice, beautiful, crisp looking drink.
Yeah, and these are beautiful drinks. Folks, if you find yourselves at home ever shaking a Manhattan, stop.
No, God, no.
Take
please.
Dougie's advice, stir that drink. That is how you get this beautiful, clean drink.
You get the flavors of the whiskey to shine through. You don't want the water to break down all the botanicals, all the what have you.
Now, folks, if you are in Old Town and for some reason you've never been to Virtue Feed and Grain, right, which is crazy. There's not just this room here, the Clipper Room. There's an entire upstairs. There's an entire downstairs dining. There's an entire patio. So they should be able to take you if you're coming in too.
Yeah. It's a refurbished feed and grain silo, so it's huge, beautiful, rustic. We've got plenty of space for you. We are a local favorite. We are recently acquired by the Smith family. When they took over, we really focused back down on giving back to the community, really upping the quality of everything. So our drink menu has really bumped it up a notch. We really wanted to make sure that we're highlighting local distilleries, local spirits. We really want to make sure people know we're here for them.
Yeah, totally. On the bar side of things, known for whiskey, great whiskey cocktails, great staff. Tell us a little bit about the food we have here.
So we are an American tavern style, so we do try and specialize in hand foods, typically burgers, steaks, but we also have a fantastic chef program here. Aldo brings in weekly specials every single week, new stuff.
Nice.
Like bacon wrapped scallops we'll be actually serving later tonight. We're actually smoking with Maker's bunts.
That's creative. I love that. Nice.
We try and showcase not just the food, but we try and bring in other aspects to, show that we're not just doing the same thing as everybody else on the street.
Nice. So if I come in here every few weeks, I should see maybe something different popping up.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And that being said, if it's that good and everybody loves it, we usually just bring it on and we'll start serving it all the time. So.
Real fast, what's your favorite thing on the menu? Not at a shift. You're not working a shift. You have the night. You can get something on the menu. What's your favorite thing?
So the steak and blue salad is actually my go-to favorite right now.
Okay.
Nice rare flank steak, sliced thin, blue cheese, a balsamic reduction on top. Everything is just fantastic. Cranberries, walnuts. It's amazing.
Nice.
And
Okay.
you're actually full after you eat it. It's not as disappointing as eating just a regular small salad.
I've had disappointing salads before, I'll be honest.
It's a meal, it's an experience, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and it is an experience. Everything in here, too, that we've noticed today, from the staff to the product to the setting to the ambiance, it is an experience here. And it is certainly a staple here in Old Town and sets the standard for a lot of places here as well. For what quality is as well. What's something, circumstances happen here, a special story, something that what you really like about working here, or a story around that?
So one of my favorite things to do here is work private events. Weddings up here will block off the entire floor. We'll decorate, everything's gorgeous. You'll see ivy, lace, white, everything's beautiful. The camaraderie is fantastic, the vibe is gorgeous. Everybody's just here to have a fun time, and it really shines through. Those big parties, those big events, New Year's, like holidays, everything. It's
We
just
get to be a part of something that's special to people, and they'll remember that forever, and you get to be a part of that too. What is another, tell me another special thing that's unique to Virtue Feed and Grain, special events that you do besides maybe private parties and events like that?
So we do really try to showcase local Virginia and Old Town distilleries, the Port Cities, the Blue Ridge vodkas, those kinds of things, what have you. We also do a lot of bourbon tastings here. If you've ever been here before, you've probably seen, more likely heard, Big T, Tom Gale. He's our bourbon and stave, our barrel and stave bourbon steward. So he is well versed in everything whiskey, and he would love to actually tell you every single thing, probably give you his college thesis on it. But
Love it.
he actually does private events where he'll sell tickets. He'll pick out, monthly favorites, and he'll give a full-on course on why these are what you should be drinking.
That's fun. That's such a good time.
Super good.
And now, if I wanted to do one of those, is there anywhere for me to get information on that, or we just contact you guys?
So what you can do is you can call our front desk and ask for Katie Bradley. We'd be happy to give you her number. She'd give you all the information about that. Or if you just want to plan an event, we also have Amber Shelley, our event coordinator.
Nice. What are the hours here right now? How do we come down? How do we enjoy something at Virtue? How do we enjoy one of these cocktails?
Of course. So Monday through Friday, we are open 11 to 10 o'clock. The weekends, we are going to do brunch, which we open an hour early. So 10 to 2, we'll be serving brunch, all the good stuff, Bloody Marys, mimosas, what have you.
Nice.
And then we'll go to regular dinner menu after that, and we'll still stay open until 10.
Now, do I need to make a reservation to come get a seat?
So you should definitely give us a call. Let us know that you're on your way. That way we can accommodate you if you have any large parties, special needs that we need to know of. But usually we're pretty good to get you in, ready to go. We take everybody.
So if I wanted right now to get a cocktail to go, is that something that you're participating in right now?
So we are doing to-go cocktails. If you're getting to-go liquor, we do try and get you to get some food with that, just to
per
enjoy it at
ABC
home.
law, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
But if you want to get a to-go drink, you're welcome to order it from your server, and they'd be happy to get you a to-go cocktail on your way out the door, or just come on up to the bar, visit me. I'd be happy to get you whatever you would like.
Man, okay,
That's
so
what I'm here for.
it sounds like we can do everything here. We can get brunch, we can get reservations, we can do walk-ins, we can get rotating specials. We have a quality menu already there. All the whiskeys in the world, including Maker's Mark. Plus, you can come in and get a dark chocolate Manhattan made by Dougie here with Maker's Mark at Virtue Feed and Grain. Well, Doug, thanks for having us
course,
today.
man.
This has been a really good time. It was
My
great to
pleasure.
hang with you, and thanks for the service and the great cocktails.
That's what I do.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
South Union at King Street is one of the most historic blocks in Old Town. Our building alone was built in the mid-1800s, and the Old Town Shop is next door to a well-known landmark on South Union Street, Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. Our neighbor, Windsor of Old Town Salon and the Gentleman's Quarter, have been popular salons for over 30 years. Other local favorites for shopping are the Lucky Knot, an upscale women's boutique, and Old Town Books, an independent bookstore with a wide array of novels and books of all kinds. Mia's Restaurant was a nice addition to the block, and we enjoyed the buzz that they have provided to Lower King Street. But Virtue Feed and Grain has been our longtime favorite for their private alley dining and consistently delicious food. While customers wait for a table, Virtue sends them our way, and we love that. Welcome to the Old Town Shop.
Well, that was wonderful hearing from John and getting to visit with Dougie and seeing I hope you're enjoying his great cocktail right now. And we are fortunate enough to be visiting the Old Town Shop, and I'm going to speak with Valerie Ianieri. And the store looks amazing, I have to say. Every time I come here, it's just got such wonderful things for everybody in Old Town. So tell me a little bit how this all started and you've got that in your background.
Oh, it's a story. Having lived in Alexandria for 35 years and 25 years were here in Old Town Alexandria, I was making a career change and decided that I did not want to get on airplanes, and a train, and an automobile, and the next thing I was going to do, I was going to walk to it. And if I couldn't walk to it, it wasn't going to happen. So in my search for trying to find a product that said Old Town Alexandria for a friend who was moving here, I was disappointed. And I just decided I had to do something about it. And I knew that the challenge was going to be to put an identity around Old Town Alexandria. We were a little political, we're a little nautical, we're a little Southern hospitality, and trying to find a way to encapsulate that, which is the historic fabric of Alexandria. I knew it was going to be a challenge, but it's nothing that I wouldn't stop myself from doing and moving straight ahead to do it. So one day on a Friday, it all happened, and I just made my mind up if I could find a place that was close to the waterfront that I would do it. And I went to the 100 block of King, I went to the 100 block of South Union, couldn't find anything initially, and then I saw the sign where the former Firehook Bake Shop was and said, perfect location, I'm doing it. And that day I created the name, I created the website, I got the phone numbers, I got everything set up. And then Saturday morning I woke up and just said, what did I just do? Having never been in retail before, I just took the challenge on. And 4 years later, we have the Old Town Shop. So it's been quite a journey. Yep. It's been quite a challenge. Anyone who does retail knows. And it's been a lot of fun to watch Old Town Alexandria grow and redevelop. And
tell me a little bit about your store, because I know there's all these vignettes here in the store, and you offer quite a bit of wonderful gift ideas for anyone to really.
Yeah, well, thank you again for that. It really means the world to me when we get feedback like that. The different sections that we have, we created an area called the Kids Cove. And I had hired one of the former managers of the Why Not, and she merchandised the Kids Cove. So we have a cute little play area. We've got plush, we have apparel, we have some retro toys. And when kids come in, we just shuttle them into the Kids Cove, and the parents don't have to worry about hearing something crash. Then we brought in all these historical books that used to be carried in Olson's. They were carried over in the Virginia store, and a lot of regional cookbooks. At the time, we didn't have Old Town Books across the street. So we made sure we had a really good array of history and local authors, as well as cookbooks and regional books. We then brought in pineapple, and I customed a lot of product for pineapple, which represents hospitality, which is what my logo is. So that was a lot of fun, and it's continuing to design new product around the pineapple theme. And then there's two parts of the store that are really my favorite. I didn't want this just to be another retail shop. Why I did it was because of the historic factors of Old Town, the charm of Old Town. So this section that we're in right now is called The Port. This building dates back to the 1800s. And so this area, we have really celebrated the history, and we have the historical markers. There's 16 markers on our wall. And those markers will tell a little bit about the history of Alexandria. So when people come to the back section of the shop, they get a little snapshot of the history. And we're not just a gift store. The other part, which is where we are now, which is the Locals Alley. One of my other challenges being a resident here was I loved our local farmers market, which dates back to 1753. It's the oldest continuous farmers market in the country. And it's special. So anyone knows on a Saturday morning, you'll see kids and dogs, you'll hear music, it's busy, it's fun. And when I was traveling, if I wasn't here on a Saturday, I didn't get my product. So I remember going to the Capital City Candles folks and saying, one day I'm gonna have a store where I can carry your product week round. So 7 days a week, you can come to a Locals Alley and you can get local products that are from the farmer's market, certainly made in Virginia. All the products we have here are made in Virginia. It's not just the farmer's market because we just expanded. And that's been a lot of fun. The other sections of the store, because we've had to brand Old Town Alexandria, we've got a big wall of apparel. And so t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats to show your Old Town Alexandria pride. And then got to remember my OTX. Almost forgot about that. This was fun. So early on, when I was creating the ideas for the store, when I mentioned that we just didn't have an identity and I was doing all my research, I kept coming across the Outer Banks Euro decal. Mm-hmm. And so I decided that I was going to coin OTX for Old Town Alexandria. And so now you see bumper stickers all around town with OTX on the bumper sticker. And we've done t-shirts and sweatshirts, and we've done coffee mugs and wine glasses and shot glasses and a whole wide array of OTX product.
I love all of this.
Thank
I have to
you.
say, for those of you that are enjoying your cocktails right now, this is a wonderful place to get your local honey syrups that you can use in your cocktails. And I know that one of the things we're always looking for are quick bites for appetizers to serve. And I know that I want you to talk about some of your products, but nuts or something that are just a cocktail necessity. So I know this is one place that we can get them. So I want to tell me about some of the other products that you offer here at the store.
Yes. So thank you for plugging our nuts. The Virginia store used to carry Hubs nuts, and it was a go-to favorite. There's multiple flavors of the nuts, and this during the holiday season is the perfect gift. It comes in 2 packs and 3 packs.
Year-round.
So it is, yes. Absolutely.
Cocktails
Thank you.
are
It's
every
one of our
day,
number
folks.
one. Yeah, it's one of our number one bestsellers. Definitely, this is our peanuts.
And tell me about some of the other local things that I know that you carry that you have designers that have made for you.
Thank you. Yes. So one of our very favorite designs there's a designer, her name is Allie Douglas, and she represents this Old Town Alexandria townhome. It's almost like
wonderful.
the Charleston
Yeah,
Rainbow
the
Row. So
townhouse
she's
is
done
great.
this design, and we actually merchandise. We bought the artistic rights from her. She's a lovely artist, and we have now merchandised. So we have a lot of home goods that have the Allie Douglas townhomes, and it's very quintessential.
And speaking of townhomes, don't you have you're also doing ornaments and things, and like the Spite House? I know when I was walking in here, I was like eyeing all sorts of good things for the holidays coming up. And I remember I saw that one. Can you tell me a little bit about that one?
Yeah,
This is
so
adorable.
this is done by a woman she does all hand painted. This is called the Spite House, and it's by Rachel Peden, and it's named on the back, the Spite House.
And for viewers who don't know, most of us know what the Spite House that live in
Yes.
Old Town, but for those that don't, can you give a little bit of history on it?
So I don't know the date that it stems back to, but so I think he didn't want an alley, so he built a house
Yeah,
where
I
there
think
was going to
that's
be an
right.
alley. Did I get that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't pass my test today. But anyway, so this is only here. You can't find this anywhere
It's
else.
adorable.
And one of our other wonderful places, the Christmas Attic,
Right.
has closed. And so we are very lucky because last year we did create and design Old Town Alexandria, Virginia, and DC ornaments. So we have, I think we're now going up to about 50 ornaments that are all branded between multiple hand-carved ornaments. We have gold ornaments. We also carry the White House, annual White House ornament. Our newest one is a blue crab.
Oh, that's
And
lovely.
this is for Alexandria, Virginia, and it's really pretty. And we have a lot of different brands and different designs for our ornaments. So we're really excited this year. We're going to have a whole ornament display, ornament tree, and you will be able to buy the ornaments online. So we are going to put our ornaments online.
Tell our audience where you're located and how we can find you, what's your hours. If you can give us the details, that'd be great.
Thank you. We are 105 South Union Street, so we're at the corner pretty much of King and Union. And our hours, we're open 7 days a week. We open 10 o'clock in the morning every morning, close at 8 p.m. throughout the week, and then Fridays and Saturdays, we're open until 9 p.m.
And your website is?
Our website is www.theoldtownshop.com. With COVID,
You're pivoting, and
we're
like all of
pivoting.
us,
We
yeah.
are, and it is a challenge. It's not
Right.
easy to do
It's hard for
e-commerce.
retail.
It's very
Yeah.
difficult.
It's like another business almost.
It's well said. It's another business because you have to have an entire infrastructure to support that. We do know that one of our top selling items during the holidays are ornaments. So we will be putting all of our ornaments online for selling.
Okay. Well, Valerie, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
great
you.
chatting with you and finding out more about the store. And I know our viewers learned a lot today. So now we're going to kick it off back to John, and he's going to be interviewing a real good friend of ours, PJ Orlandi, who is with Beam Suntory. So John, it's your turn.
All right, thanks, Victoria. That was really great. We are still cozied up here by the fire in the Old Town shop, and I am joined by my good friend here, PJ, and we're here to talk Maker's Mark whiskey with you today, Old Town. So, PJ, if you could, thanks for joining us, by the way.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here.
Nice. It's nice being here. It feels really good in the shop talking whiskey with you. And if you could just tell us, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Hey, guys, I'm PJ Orlandi. I work for Maker's Mark in Virginia. and I'm from the DC area. I lived out in Kentucky for a while, and I've been in the industry for about 7 years, and I've worked with makers for the last 3.
Nice. So yeah, we've had the pleasure of doing a bunch of events together, and it's nice to be able to sit down and just chat with you. If you're not familiar, friends, with Maker's Mark, which would be kind of wild. I don't know if anyone who's not familiar with it right now. It's one of the more iconic big American whiskeys. But if you're not familiar about Maker's Mark, it's this bottle right here that you'll find on your shelves. It's certainly a very interesting looking bottle, and the appeal of it, I think, is something that jumps off of the shelf. PJ, could you give us a little bit of insight or a little bit of background as to why the bottle looks like this and what the thoughts were behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Maker's Mark was started in the 50s. You can think of Maker's Mark as starting the premium whiskey category. Beforehand, in some of the old whiskeys, especially pre-Prohibition styles, they were pretty hot, real jet fuel-like whiskeys that you're basically thinking cowboys in a saloon want to toss it back, get the job done, and get out of there. Maker's Mark is not that style of whiskey at all. And the founders, Bill Samuels Sr. and his wife Margie Samuels, collaborated to create this right here before you.
It's got to be one of the best looking bottles you'll ever see on the shelf.
Yeah. So they always say that the first bottle of Maker's Mark you buy is because of Margie, and the second bottle that you buy is because of Bill, coming back for the juice that's inside the bottle. So Margie was an incredible woman. She borrowed the idea for the red wax because she used to collect old cognac bottles, and they used to seal them with wax.
Okay.
So she borrowed that idea. And we patented the red wax drips that you see today on every shelf across the country, basically. She also is an amateur calligrapher and created the typeset for Maker's Mark. She even came up with the name Maker's Mark, noticing that the creation of this whiskey that Bill has made was more of a craft than anything else, and like any good craftsmen, specifically jewelers, they'll put the mark of the maker on some of their favorite pieces.
Oh, okay.
Or all of their pieces to make sure that you know where it came from. So that is the SIV logo encircled here.
I love facts about that. I love those little bar lore things as well. Because you might, if I may, real quick, you might be sitting around and drinking this with your friends, or buying this at the store, or calling for it on the shelf at your local bars all the time. But you'd have no idea why it's called Maker's Mark, where that comes from, or why the wax is there. You just know that it's really appealing, and that's another thing I love about getting together with good friends and drinking good whiskey. Then you get to share those little tidbits, and that's why we're doing these virtual cocktail hours as well, to help educate you and give you these fun facts about it as well. Now, we talked a little bit about what the outside of the bottle looks like, why it's so iconic, and now let's talk about what's inside the bottle and why it's so good and why it tastes good. We just enjoyed a really beautiful cocktail over at Virtue Feed and Grain. We had their chocolate Manhattan made with Maker's Mark. And it was excellent too. So can you tell me a little bit about what goes into the bottle here, the distillation, and why Maker's Mark tastes so good, why it's so appealing to everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bill Samuels Sr. is actually a 6th generation distiller. So his family before had a completely different style of whiskey. And that was the family recipe. So T.W. Samuels was kind of a household name for whiskeys back in the day. But like I said, it was a very different style of whiskey, heavy on the rye. And Bill's mission was to make sure that he was making a whiskey that had no bitter notes to it, that was tasty, and you could hold on your palate at 90 proof, which is a challenge within itself. And when he set out to, he basically literally burned the family recipe. Literally burned it, which is kind of insane. You have a generations old
just
recipe.
light up the family's legacy, right?
To create something new, and that was a huge leap to take. But obviously, when you're starting something out, and anybody who's familiar with the whiskey making process, it's kind of a crazy thing to do, to take a mash bill or the recipe for the whiskey and wait 6 years to see if it turns out okay. Waiting years to find out if it's a good product. So what him and Margie did is they took a bunch of different types of grains, and in order to figure out what recipe they wanted to go with the mash bill, they actually baked different breads with the mash bills in their kitchen to taste and see what the flavor profiles
that's
would
really
work
creative.
together. Yeah,
Nice.
and what they settled on was soft red winter wheat. It's used in a lot of pastries and confectionery goods and things like that. So nice, soft, sweet on the palate, avoids any of the bitterness. And they took rye out of the mash bill. So we have corn,
Yep.
just like every.
So if we're making American whiskey, 51% corn is a minimum in that mash bill, folks.
Yeah. So we've got corn, soft red winter wheat, and barley.
All right, so I always love to find at least like some parallels or some similarities between the spirits and between the companies, and then between where we are now. So we're here in Old Town. Obviously, things are important in Old Town. It's so locally influenced, right? People have lived here for so long. We have these beautiful shops, one-off stores, boutique places, and restaurants as well. Also, of course, just the community and the locals. But also, we're here right on the water in Old Town too, and water is extremely important in whiskey too. It's one of the most important things. So I know that locally influenced things and the water source are really big things for Maker's Mark too. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always consider Virginia and Kentucky kind of kindred spirits. So Kentucky used to be the Kentucky territory of Virginia before they actually had their statehood. But local things are actually really important to us at Maker's Mark as well. When we did our launch of the private selects the other day, we had Chef Newman on there, and he tries to keep everything at the Star Hill Farms Provision, our restaurant at the distillery. He tries to keep everything locally sourced the same way we do with our whiskey.
Okay, cool.
So we talked about the grains from Maker's Mark a little bit, and our soft red winter wheat and our corn, we've been sourcing those from the same two families in Kentucky within about 60-mile radius, give or take, from the distillery.
Nice.
The same two families, the Petersons and the Mattingleys.
Nice.
And they've been our source for grain since the beginning. So all of it's locally sourced and sustainable.
And then the water is...
Yeah, our water source is actually our spring-fed lake right there on our property.
Nice.
And we own our entire watershed to make sure that we can be aware of everything that's coming into our water source.
Nice.
And we have an environmentalist on site who, Jason Nally, he's incredible. And he takes care of everything on the site at the distillery. Everybody thinks of Maker's Mark as such a gigantic, cornerstone brand for the whiskey industry, but we're still a small operation, and we're not expanding and cutting corners. We're just replicating what we have.
What is it that you guys, so do you have any special products coming out right now, or any special distillations or anything exciting in the works? I know that most people are familiar with Maker's Mark, the original, your Maker's Mark Classic. But
Red top.
Yeah, the red top, of course. And then you do have Maker's Mark 46, which we really won't get into as much, but it's also beautiful with the French oak staves.
I'll touch on it because I think it goes into that. So Maker's 46 takes cast strength Maker's Mark. We empty out the barrel into a holding tank, and then we take 10 seared French oak staves, or more like wood planks, and we put them inside the barrel, and then we refill it. So those 10 seared French oak staves are enhancing some of the flavors of Maker's Mark. So it's still definitely a Maker's Mark product, Maker's Mark brand. You have all the same iconic notes, but the way that Bill describes it, he'll say it's Maker's Mark on steroids. Bigger caramels, bigger vanillas.
Yep.
But those French oak staves cooked in that specific way really bring out those more heightened flavor profiles from there.
Right.
A little more baking spices too.
Following along at home, folks, the reason for that and where we're getting those flavors from, we talk about the mash bill, right? What we're putting in to distill, to ferment, to get our flavors from there. Now, when we take that juice, that final product, and we put it into the wood, it's going to go in and outside of that wood, and that's where it's going to get a lot of the flavor from too. So not just from going into that original barrel too, those French oak staves, again, like you said, on steroids. Now the whiskey's going to go in and out of another caramelized wood and get more flavor from it as well. So that's your Maker's Mark 46. And what else do you guys have in the works right now?
So, utilizing that same process of finishing the whiskey using different types of cooked staves, we have our Maker's Mark Private Select process, which we allow some special customers come down to the distillery, and we have 5 different types of staves, including the Maker's 46 stave. And each one of those is could be French oak or American oak, but each one of those is cooked or seasoned or cut in different ways to impact the flavors. They accentuate all the flavor profiles that are already there in different ways. So the Private Select program, each person can pick 10 total staves, picking from those 5 different variations to create their own unique Maker's Mark whiskey. And Virginia ABC has done a few of those, and we actually just launched their 2 new recipes this month.
Very cool.
So.
Okay, so if I want to get one of these Private Select barrels, let's say we got a couple here too. It's been a long day. We might have got into it a little bit, but we've got some down here. So this is what this beautiful looking Private Select barrel looks like right now, folks. As well, if I want to purchase one of these, or if I'm interested in this program, can you give us some more information towards that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Virginia ABC picked 2 different recipes. There's smooth and savory and bold and spicy.
Bold and spicy. Bold and spicy was my nickname in middle school, by the way.
Johnny.
So yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, and they've got the recipes on the front of them, so you can see the different stave combinations that they ended up going with. And they should be at most of the ABC stores rolled out right now in limited quantities. So as soon as those barrels are gone, these recipes are done because they've only picked a certain amount of barrels.
Okay,
but
so
you should be able to find them at your ABC stores and even online on the ABC website, which we'll include a link here for you guys to be able to hunt some of those down.
So you go to virginiaabc.com to find these, but also if you're roaming the shelves right now in the ABC store, you look for that iconic red wax top. But look for these special releases right now. These special releases too. And obviously, according to PJ, get in there and get them now while you can before they're all sold out. And this is a great time of year as it's getting colder to share good bottles of whiskey with your friends as well too. So this is certainly something exciting to bring to your next family gathering or Zoom happy hour, whichever you may be doing right now at home. And these are exciting too. It's very fun to get into some of this. But
yeah, they did a great job on these selections. These are 2 very, very different but very tasty whiskeys.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys always do a beautiful product as well. So I'm like, that's exciting to have these on the shelves as well now too, and something to add to the range of your portfolio as well. Now, is there anything? Do you guys have anything exciting in the works coming up? I know that you just did a dinner last night at Virtue Feed and Grain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So Virtue's amazing partners of ours. That chocolate Manhattan on the menu is
delicious.
So if you guys are around Old Town, that's a must-have. You guys got to stop in there. Mm-hmm. But we did a virtual launch of the product, and we actually brought some. So bungs are the little pieces of wood that they put in the hole of the whiskey barrel to keep the whiskey inside, obviously.
Right.
And we use walnut bungs at Maker's Mark, and we also have the Maker's 46 staves. So I had some of those shipped to me from the distillery, and we brought those over to Virtue Feed and Grain. And Chef Aldo made some amazing dishes to go along with these whiskeys out of those things. So he actually he smoked a pork belly, doing a cold smoke with the walnut bungs.
Oh, very cool.
Oh my gosh, it was.
You gotta love restaurant people utilizing all the different things to create delicious food. I love it.
Yeah.
How was it? Was it great?
Oh, it was fantastic. And Chef Aldo, little congratulations to him. He actually just had a baby the other day, and he still came out and did what he was passionate about. But definitely very talented chef. Great cocktails over there as well.
Yeah, you got a talented chef, a talented bar team. So, friends, again, if you're holiday season right now too, probably one of the most giftable bottles out there as well. But again, check out the Private Selects, check out the Makers 46, check out the Classic Makers as well. Now, I know that I feature it myself at the restaurants as well. Are there other ways people can procure Maker's Mark for themselves right now? Is there any little insider tips that you might have for us?
Yeah, in Virginia, so when these Private Select releases come out, Virginia ABC usually sends them out in their newsletter, letting people know that they're coming. That would be the easiest way to stay on top of it. We've already released our Maker's Mark wood finishing series for 2020, which is similar process, but they're using different stave types than are available in the Private Select.
Nice.
This year's was probably my favorite whiskey that I've I've come across that was released in the last like 5 years.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's a big favorite of mine.
All right, that's exciting.
Unfortunately, that's gone, but you are able to get it locally at some of the bars and restaurants in Old Town, including Virtue across the street.
Okay. Well, PJ, appreciate you sitting down, taking a moment to hang with us today to talk whiskey and to share spirits with us. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and it was great to have all the cocktails over at Virtue. And again, thank you to everyone hosting us today. And thanks for sitting down. And Old Town, hope you enjoyed a little bit of this information. And hope you enjoy some Maker's Mark cocktails and enjoy some good whiskey with some good friends.
Cheers, guys.
Hey friends, on behalf of Victoria, myself, the Old Town Shop, our friends at Virtue Feed and Grain and Maker's Mark, thanks for joining us for our second episode of Old Town Cocktail Virtual Happy Hour.
And we look forward to seeing you next month. We'll have Megan Podolowski of 529 Kids Consign, and we'll be going to King and Rye. So
Looking
it'll
forward
be a
to it.
good episode.
We'll see you next time, Old Town. Cheers.